Hi, everyone. Welcome to this month's episode of the Let's Talk LIMS podcast. Today, we have a special episode just for you. Enjoy. Welcome back, everyone, to the Let's Talk LIMS podcast, the official podcast of the Leadership Institute for Military Spouses, where we explore leadership, connection, and growth within the military spouse community. I'm your host, Tony Castillo. And for today's episode, we're going to be taking another dive into the Military Spouse Leadership Development Program, but we're going to do it with a little bit different this time. So we're going to be going through the lenses of two incredible alumni that have experienced this program and have gone on to graduate and do amazing things within the military spouse community. And before we get to introductions, I just want to say to my guests, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day, your busy schedule to be a part of this. I'm so excited to jump into our discussion about the program. But before we jump in, I would love for you to share with our listeners who you are and which branch you are affiliated with.
Go ahead, Allison.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. My name's Allison Goodrich. My husband is part of the Marine Corps. So we're a Marine Corps family. He's been in for 18 years. We've been together for 14 years. So I've been through this journey for a little bit now. We've moved across the country and we're currently located in Virginia Beach.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony, for having me. My name is Carly Goodell. I am an Army spouse of 19, and we are cruising into almost 20 years. So it's been a journey, and I am honored to be here. It's actually my first podcast as a military spouse, so thank you.
Thank you so much both for sharing, and the honor is all mine that y'all are here today. I was so excited to get this episode started, and the way how we're going to have our discussion today is that we're going to start with talking about your journey to how you found yourself being a part of the program itself. And then we'll have a discussion about your experiences within the MSLDP program. And then we'll kind of take a broader lens aspect and look at how that has affected you now as alumni of this program. And then talk about the alumni program itself. So do you have any questions before we begin?
No.
All right, perfect. So in that case, so as we begin, I was really interested to hear your journey on how you became a part of the Military Spouse Leadership Development Program. And Allison, I'll start with you. And same question for you, Carly, is can you share a little bit about your background as a military spouse and how you found yourself being a part of this program?
Yeah, sure. So I am also a licensed marriage and family therapist by trade. So I started my career as a therapist before I met my husband. And so over the 14 years we've been together in the military, I found myself kind of becoming more and more burned out just with the tasks of deployments. We have 3 kids, being a working parent, all of the things that encompass this life. It's as if, when you start as a military spouse, your capacity is really, really high, right? I can do anything. I can do everything. You think what, lays ahead. And then as you get along, you're like, wow, my capacity is really low. But at the same time, your capability, right? Your experience, the things you've been through, we're on our 10th deployment right now. All of the challenges you've been through are suddenly so much more broad. So I found myself last year kind of feeling really burnt out just with being a military spouse, being a therapist, being a mom, being a person in this world. And one of my mentors actually did the previous cohort. And so I learned about it through her. She had shared on her social media, her journey and her, introduction, her whole thing. And so I reached out to her and I said, how can I get involved in this? This sounds like a really cool opportunity and something that I'm needing personally in my journey of just feeling so burnt out at this point. So it's interesting. I found it through a mentor and she led me here and helped me through my application and throughout the program as well. And now we're here.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
Yep. So mine's similar to Allison as far as the way that the LIMS program has used social media to really get the information out about the organization and about what they're doing. And I think the way they present it it just touches a lot of people. So like between being in the MSOI community and seeing all of the people who have gone through that program, who I've met through that program, who have also came over and done the LIMS program. So I was seeing it shared by multiple people at the different levels. And so when I actually applied for this one, I think I was at MSOI week in DC. And so it was like after we had, been to dinner doing whatever. And I was like, I'm going to do this. So I laid in bed, like in the hotel, and I filled it out. And it was one of those where it was like, what's it going to hurt? You know what I mean? It was like, if I get it, I get it, cool. And I remember it was like, I was up till like 2 a.m. because I didn't realize that it's pretty intense application. And once I had started it, I was like, all right, I'm committed to this or whatever. But then the more you learn about it, and it was just like, wow, I really want this. So it was like something that I really didn't know too much about ended up being something that I was like, oh man, I really, really hope I get this. But really it was like, seeing it shared by other people, which I think like the way they do that is so great because it does touch a lot of military spouses. So that's how we got there. And I had already been, like I said, I'm at my end of my military spouse journey here. Not that it's going to stop, not that I'm going to stop, doing what I already do for military spouses. But sometimes you can get to the end there and you can think like, like, do I really need to continue? I know everything. I've done it. I've lived it, whatever. But I have that mentality that like, if the opportunity comes to get better or to learn more and to grow, like I'm going to take that. So this was like a once in a lifetime opportunity for me. So it's been awesome.
Thank you both for sharing that. I love hearing how journeys like this start. And I really like how, yours were two very different, paths that y'all took to being a part of this. I really loved, Allison, that you brought up mentorship. I feel like mentorship is such a huge part of, the military spouse community. And the fact that you found this through networking and mentorship was, that's what we love to hear as part of LIMS. And now to jump into the military spouse leadership development program itself, I want to ask the both of you, what were your first impressions when you were accepted and you joined the program?
I can go first again if you want, if that's okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it in a way, it kind of just kept getting better as I learned more, as I got, through each class and each curriculum. It's like it just kind of unfolded more and more of what I had been craving and needing, but not really knowing that I needed this kind of support and this kind of container for leadership. Because there's so much crisis that we deal with as military spouses, right? Whether it's at home, in our spouse's command, or in the community with our kids. And I feel like I have had so much leadership experience, but not so much leadership training, in a way that I ended up shouldering the burdens of all of this. I ended up thinking, oh, the more I do, the better I am, or I can do everything. I had to flip that to say, I can do anything, but not everything. Because I was just getting so burnt out and so overwhelmed carrying the load for everyone. So in this program, the more I learned, the more I realized, wow, it's really important, not just to delegate to, but to get other people involved that really want to be here too, other stakeholders, other people that want to sit at the table in the midst of crisis or just general problem solving. It doesn't even have to be crisis. And so for me, that just felt really eye-opening and really supportive. And it kind of helped me kind of take a deep breath for the first time in 14 years, of carrying so much stress from combat deployments, all of the PCSs, all of the crises that go on in our lives and others, and supporting all the military spouses we've been involved with over the years,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can agree with pretty much exactly what you said. Although like when I first was getting the emails and you're accepted and you're, and the first cohort's going to be whenever, I felt this like nervousness or this intimidation, maybe it was imposter syndrome. Cause I do feel like a lot of times, like because I'm not getting paid for a lot of the work I do, I can easily like lower myself to like, oh, well, I'm just a volunteer. Like, oh, I'm just, it's, I can be the president of a spouses club, but it's for free. I do it because of my heart. So when you get into something like this, it was like, oh man, am I actually going to be, able to keep up, to understand, and to be able to take whatever the curriculum is and do well with it. And so I think there was a little bit of like the nerves there. And then we hop in and you're in this group with like, 50 other people who are just like you. And that's something that you don't get a lot, because if you are the leader, sometimes you are so worried about like making sure that everybody's got what they need and making sure that like, it's planned out properly, and I'm going to lead this thing and I'm going to fill the awkward silences. There was no need to have to fill any awkward silences, because everybody wanted to talk. Everybody had an opinion. Everyone wanted to, had a great idea. And so that was what was funny about it. It was like, oh, wow, I can sit back and like, listen and not be teaching, I guess is how you could say that. But yeah, once I got in it, like you said, it just got better and better. And once you got comfortable that like, okay, you're not having tests and quizzes and, I'm not going to be graded on an essay. I was like, okay, this is fine. Yeah. But it's good.
Awesome. I'm happy that, Allison, you brought up how, it got better and better for you the more that you're in this program. And Carly, I really also liked how you mentioned that this was an environment and a cohort where everyone had something to say. And it was an opportunity, not just for you to present yourself, but get to learn from others. And the networking is incredible with the MSLDP program. And I'm happy that both of you were able to witness that. And now going off of that, I want to ask my next question is, which part of the program had the biggest impact on you both? Any part, whether it was a lecture, a guest speaker, or lecture, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I can go first for this one. I definitely think that the lectures really spoke to me, because even though they might have been taking a lecture that they used to teach crisis management about the oil spill, in the Gulf and all the things that they were doing, or to the bombing, the Boston bombing and all of that, everything that they said, you could turn that and use it in something that was going on in your life, something that you were working on or like having to deal with, even if it was just like, I would say, oh, how can the spouses club compare to the Boston Marathon bombing? Because you almost feel ridiculous. Here I am, I'm going to take this. But the tools that they use to problem solve, to work together, to build this community, it's exactly what we're doing. So it was cool to see how like what they were teaching can be used in so many different aspects of leadership. And I definitely learned a lot from that, skills that I could take that day and use, which was cool.
Absolutely. I loved that as well. I loved the chance for the small breakout groups where we got to kind of talk through the presentation and the program and process it in these small groups. So we would be randomly thrown into a room, just like this, 3 or 4 people, and get to go through some topics and talk about. And I feel like, in all the time of being a military spouse, you're just trying to find these other people who are fighting as hard as you are to make changes, to include people for equitable resources for your command. And here I am sitting in this group with 3 or 4 people who are just like me, just like us, Carly, And so I found that I wanted more of that. I wanted more of those small groups, which I can talk about, which we're getting in our alumni program now. But that was really meaningful to me. And I found myself being like, hey, can we exchange numbers? I'd love to connect further in my little groups. And we've kind of problem solved outside of that. And while there weren't so many Marine Corps spouses, there were only 4 or 5 of us, maybe. We talked a lot about spouse programs and whatnot in our commands. And so it was a lot of learning like how the Air Force does it and applying it to us, or how the Army. And so it was really cool to hear other people conquering their challenges and apply it to kind of myself.
So going off of that and talking about the networking side of the MSLDP program, how important would you say networking is in a program like this?
I like I said, I don't think I would have even known about it if it weren't for the networking from another organization that I had recently got involved in and stuff. It's crazy how when you get these people all into a Facebook group, or you get them all into these messaging things, like everybody is helping everybody. I could go today and say XYZ is going on, and I would have 20 spouses immediately be like, oh, reach out to so-and-so. Oh, let me connect you with her. He knows this. And it's like, it's wild. And it's so like wild in the best possible way. Like how networking in this life is just amazing.
Totally. Yeah. It's been huge. I feel like it added this layer though of like getting to meet each other, live, not in person, but live, versus, just a kind of a social media group or a virtual group where you don't actually know the people. We were all on the same path together. And so we kind of had this like shared understanding of the same mission. So the networking is even more, I feel like, valuable with our group, with our cohort, and with previous cohorts now that we're in the alumni group. But yeah, it was absolutely instrumental, this networking piece, to my process of this leadership journey. It's been huge.
And my favorite part about this is, even though, as you mentioned, you're doing this virtually, some people are in San Diego, some people are in South Korea, some people are in Germany, people are all over the world, and yet you're on the same path together as military spouses. And that's the amazing part, that you get to do this from all over the world, but still be a part of the same mission. And I'm so happy that that has happened for you guys, and that you're now alumni that could speak about your experiences. And going off of that, I believe that leadership is something that never ends. Even when you join a program like this and you graduate from this, everything still happens. Life happens. And this is when, in my opinion, I always say that's when the things that you've learned become applicable. Not good at saying that word, but that's when you apply what you actually learned into your daily lifestyle. And going off of that, I want to ask a question is, since you graduated, how has the leadership development program influenced your professional and or personal leadership journey?
I think there's just a couple things that stand out and that I've gone back to now, even with my family. It's like in the basement, like when there's a problem, and I have used this with my son who's in junior high now, middle school. And I'm like, I'll have to tell him, I'm like, buddy, you're in the basement. Like, you got to go, you got to process this. Let's talk this through, whatever. We got to get you out of the basement. And so now that's just become like a family quote, like, oh man, she's in the basement. So that one's great. And then the walk in the woods is just something where, like, I think that we all knew that was something that we could do, because how many times have you been like, man, I need to go for a walk. I need to clear my head. I need to whatever. Well, like, the walk in the woods is essentially that. Like, there's a problem, there's something, like you're going in a walk, but like the fact that you might bring someone along with you to like work out a problem at the same time is genius. It's like I love that idea. And it's actually just something that, like, it can work in your marriages. Like, let's just go for a walk. Let's go talk about this. Let's like get out of like our environment that we're in right now. And it can be so beneficial, I think, even with like when you're working with a bigger group setting too, to like use that. So those are my two things that really stuck out.
Yeah, I love that. So valuable, these skills, how we can use them with our kids. I've actually used a lot in therapy. This is not something we learned in therapy school. But this is something that I do trauma therapy, and there's a lot of families that I work with who are at their lowest, their breaking point, have had severe trauma. They may also be military. And we sit down and I'm like, hey, let's try this out. Let's try the walk in the woods. Let's see what it's like to kind of just go through, what are our goals here? And just the very first step of the walk in the woods is just setting out what your intentions are. And if you share goals, if you share intentions, or if you don't, for some reason, it's just so much more simple to say, oh, that's just not something we're both aligned with right now. So that's not something we're going to take to the next step, because that doesn't serve us. And so whether I'm doing that with my kids about picking what movie we're going to watch, I taught my 9-year-old how to do the walk in the woods, just the rating of 1, 2, 3. Do we agree? Are we not sure? Or do we disagree? Or something we don't want? And so she does it with her sisters just for a movie. And rather than, becoming kind of a blow up of, oh, she doesn't want to watch this, it's like, oh, no, it's a 3 for her. It's just so simple. But yeah, I've used it a lot in therapy with my family, at our command, crises that have happened. It's amazing what happens to fall in your lap once you've just finished a program like this. Suddenly there's a crisis at your door, and something you never expect to happen. And I've had to be faced with some really, really hard positions to step into and to step out of, and say, you know what, I'm no longer a stakeholder here. I've done what I can. And, as a person and a professional, it's something that this program has taught me as well, is when to step back and say, I can't participate anymore. I've done all that I can. And this job is now going to be passed on to someone else. Is a really valuable thing to protect your mental health, which is a whole other topic that we learned about and talked about. Is how do I say, I am a leader and I'm going to step back for a moment to protect myself.
I am, last episode, I was able to have a discussion with Dr. Leonard Marcus. And Dr. Leonard Marcus, he talked about the walk in the woods concept that he taught in the MSLDP program. And, one thing that I found very interesting from what Dr. Marcus mentioned is that you'll be surprised at how many people in this instance want the same thing. They just want it in very different ways.
Yes.
And often, and the thing that he also mentions that sometimes, we could get caught up in being competitive. And the emotions are high, like you mentioned before. And sometimes you just need to take a step back before you come back and talk about this issue. And oftentimes you find out that you two want the same thing, just different ways. And now it's about, okay, what can we bring to the table together that we both want to do, that we both want to succeed at? And I'm happy. I'm so happy that y'all brought that up, because I think that that's one of the most transformative experiences of this program that you could do, Allison, as you mentioned, in your career, in your personal life. It's such an important concept to learn, and it's an amazing one for sure. And now I want to ask you is, if you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice before you join this program, what would that piece of advice be?
Well, for me, I think that it's kind of like you said, like learning more about like your mental health in this world, like there's always been a lot of talk about like the soldiers and all of the things, but now realizing that this life has impacted spouses as well. And for me, it's like I was always wanting to help and putting myself out there, and yes. But that eventually does lead to burnout, to where it's like you're almost hitting your head against the wall, because sometimes you're not going to get that outcome that you wanted. You're not going to get people to always agree or go ahead, like, something's great, but like you're not going to be able to convince 20 other people that we should do this or whatever. But knowing when to say no, and knowing that, your time is valuable, you're worth more than sometimes you think you are. And like I said, I struggle with the imposter syndrome. And so a lot of times I just think like, oh, I got this opportunity, I have to do it. Or like, they want me to do this, I got to do it. And now knowing that like my time and my as a person, like I don't have to say yes to everything. And that's been so freeing to me. So I wish I would have known that. Long story short, I wish I would have known that a bit when I was younger and been a little bit more selective in what I chose to volunteer for or give my time for, because like not everything was worthy of that, so that's what I would have probably changed a bit.
That's beautiful. What an amazing lesson. You talked about the basement earlier, Carly. And for me, that's something that I wish I could tell, 20-year-old college me who's in this leadership role with sports. Sports were kind of my first leadership experience. And it's the idea of, the basement. In mental health and therapy, we call it fight or flight mode, right? Survival mode. In this program, they call it the basement. Is recognizing when other people pull you into their basement. Not only when you're in the basement. I feel like I can recognize that, but when someone else is dragging me down. If I could go back and teach my younger self that, to recognize, to observe and step back and say, whoa, this situation or this crisis or this thing that's being asked of me is actually dragging me into the basement. I need to climb back up and protect myself and, engage my self-care and my protective method factors here. Gosh, I feel like I could have helped myself in burnout so much. The fact that I'm learning this now, right, at year 14, and man, you feel empathy for your younger self and how much you've been through, how many yeses you've said, responded to. And gosh, it's hard.
Thank you so much for both sharing that. It's as I mentioned before, and as we've kind of discussed in this section of the podcast, it's amazing to see how like applicable all these things are into your life, both in your professional and personal life. It's something that, that you could take with you forever. And it's something that in a way, it never ends. Like it never truly ends. You find new ways how to apply these things that you've learned. And now that you're graduates and now you're part of the alumni network, how has being a part of that alumni network impacted you?
Yeah, sure. It's been huge for me because there are not only are there monthly kind of mini sessions or trainings that we get to participate in, but there's networking events as well. And it's just simply the chance to be connected with all of the alumni, to notice, reach out who's in the hub or who's leading this or that, or who, a person I connected with very well did a recent like introduction session on the program. And gosh, to have these people in your corner and reach out to them with your own personal or military or family crises and say, hey, can you walk me through this? What would you do? Or what are some other things that I'm not thinking of? It's just this built-in network of support of people have learned what you've learned and have the same mission and goals that you do in your experience as a military spouse.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I'm going to hit right on what you said. I think, like how I mentioned before, if I had a specific issue going on and I went in there and I asked, hey, this is what's going on. Does anybody know of any resources, or does anybody know any, tips, tricks, whatever? You would have 20 people like immediately, if not more, but like, oh, let me private message you. Let me reach out, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's invaluable. Like, you're not going to find that anywhere else. That's just what's so amazing. And this is one of the things where I'm like, can you imagine if we had this when we were younger spouses? Because you really were just learning by doing, and so there's going to be a lot of mistakes happening when you're doing that. A lot of like live and learn. And we were just setting the tone for our own way. And now to be able to give these resources to others, and like, even like you're in command, if your husband's in command and you're the spouse, like you're going to be able to pass this down just by you being there and being a part of the other spouse's lives. Like, we're teaching the next generation, we're passing it down to them through this program, if that makes sense. So I think that's just the change that you're going to see later. It's going to be very impactful, like whether they know it or not, we're making a big change.
I agree. I want to add one more thing to what you said, Carly. Sorry. I want to amplify what you said, which is like, whether your spouse is in command or wherever you are in your process, right? Mm-hmm. Is you have the chance to do for one person what you wish you could do for the world. And even just being one person's kind of support or resource or walk in the woods is something that will be so transformative. And that we have the support now in this program, not only the guidance with the curriculum, but the networking. And it's so transformational what we have been given to pass along to even just one person.
Right. And the ability to nominate them in the future is massive. Like, everyone I've nominated or written a letter of recommendation has been because like they were volunteering under me at some point, and now to come to me and say, oh, would you write a letter for me? It's like, oh my gosh, I would be honored. Like, I'm thrilled, to do that for you, because I know what it's going to do for their life, like for their military spouse journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I really appreciate the answers that you gave. Those were incredible. I like how you mentioned how, that this is, everyone's together in this, and that that you as alumni now are able to pass down what you've learned to people around you in your network as well. And, it's just something that, as our CEO says, it's like creating an army of military spouses together, coming together and just building together. And going off of that, and going off of what you're talking about, passing things down, I want to talk about the future. Now, as alumni, what advice would you give to a participant that's on the fence about applying for this program?
Like I told myself, like, take a chance, because literally not like even going in blind and not really knowing, but it's a leadership program, but not knowing what to expect. Like, it's going to be 100 times what you thought you were going to get from it, is how I would express that. Like, you're going to learn tools that you didn't even know you needed, like you didn't even know you could have. And that's invaluable. And I would tell anybody who's on the fence to do it, because if you're thinking about it, like, then you're already the type of person that would be successful with it. And sometimes you just need that boost. Maybe it's because, like, if you're like me, you don't know, like, oh, am I good enough for that? Like, yes, you are, because this is about military spouses. It's not about people who are already doing amazing things. It's about giving you the tools to go do those amazing things that maybe you haven't done yet. So that's what I would tell them. Go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Take the chance on yourself. I think the imposter syndrome is something we all struggle with, but they're so good at reminding you in the course, like, you are here for a reason. You are here. We selected you. We are not going to change our minds about you. We believe in you. And so I would say that to anyone looking into this, is believe in yourself. Like, if you find interest in a leadership program like this, then you are the perfect fit for it. because it shows that you want to go out there and transform some of these systems and change the world, and things that aren't quite working for you or the people around you. You're the perfect candidate for that. The people who really care and recognize, inequities out there, whether it's in the military world or in families or schools or wherever, you're the perfect candidate. And reach out to people who have been in the program. Check LinkedIn for alumni and talk to people. I think now you can even get some support in completing your application. And so many people out there, who are cheering for you and want to support you. And do it.
Thank you both for sharing. That is, I love how you both mentioned how, hey, you were selected, you are a part of this, and now like it's about truly investing in yourself, and you are here for a reason. That's what MSLDP is all about. And it's amazing to see how transformative, as we've said time in and time out throughout this podcast, how transformative this program is. And now that we're coming to a close on this amazing discussion that we've had, is there any final remarks or anything you would like to say on this episode for our listeners?
I think what we just said is pretty much like, I think the gold standard of if you want to do this and you want to grow, like take this opportunity, because it is once in a lifetime. And I know for myself, even coming up at 20 years of being a military spouse, like there are things that you learn as you go, but if you have these tools in your pocket as you go through it, it's going to be so much easier for you, and you're going to have more confidence. You're going to be better prepared when you do get thrown into some roles that maybe you weren't fully ready for. So take that chance and take what you've learned and go out and keep fighting the good fight for our community and for our spouses, and do great things.
Yeah, I love that. I would say, just like they say in the program, they amplify, like, you're it, like, this is it, like, it's your turn, it's your time.
Yeah.
Whether you're at year 1 through 5 of military spouse or closer to 20 or beyond, we have no idea where this path is going to take us. I didn't think we'd get to year 18 for my husband, and here we are. And it turns out we can't get out at 20. We have to keep going. So who knew, right? Never anticipated being here. And honestly, if I had learned these things earlier, I feel like I could have been set up for success even more. So you don't have to be a longtime military spouse. You could be new. You could be anywhere on your journey. It's just really having that belief that, I want to learn these skills, and I want to connect with this network of people making the world a better place, and equitable leadership and all the things. Just do it. Go for it. If you have found this program and you found this application, do it. It's your turn. You're it.
Absolutely. I love that. You're it. I love that you say that you're it. And this is a once in a lifetime opportunity for you to find out who you are as a leader, to do the things that you want to do. That's an amazing way to put it. And I've had an amazing time with you, Allison and Carly, with the both of you. This has been an amazing discussion. I want to thank the both of you for being a part of this. I've learned so much just by listening to you during our discussion, and I can't wait to see what else you do in the military spouse community, the military community as a whole. So thank you so much for that, and thank you to our listeners who tuned in to this episode and listened and followed along. And if you want to keep up with the Leadership Institute for Military Spouses on social media, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. You can see right here in the tag, Leadership Institute 4 Mil Spouses. And be sure to be on the lookout for next month's episode, because next month's episode is going to be a real treat. And until then, I'm Tony Castillo. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.